What's happening, everybody? Well, it's that time of the year, winter, and it's freezing cold outside. Tracks are shut down for the rest of the year, and basically car guys do what car guys do around this time of year. Basically sit around bullshitting, bench racing, basically talking about nonsense. And one of the things that came up in a conversation between me and a couple of friends of mine was, if you were to get rid of your car, what would you trade it in for? And we're talking about a new car here, not necessarily to get rid of, your existing car and start a project. This would be if you got rid of your car and got into a new one. And it got me to thinking a little bit. There's some really kick-ass cars that are coming down the pipe right now. You got the new ZL1, you've got, if it ever will release, the new GT500, but there's nothing really from Dodge that you can get excited about. Yeah, and I know there's rumors that they're going to bump horsepower on the Hellcat up to around 740, 750 or something like that, but for the naturally aspirated guys, you're kind of SOL. More or less, it's rebranding and repackaging cars that have already seen the marketplace. Stuff like the RT, which, although it's kind of neat, basically it's a scat pack with a Hellcat intake and a Hellcat filter. No surprise there, they finally caught on, but there's really nothing cool. And in the conversation, as it kind of boiled out, one of the guys had mentioned, what if Mopar dropped a 426 Hemi in the Challenger, kind of like a last hurrah? And, it kind of got me to thinking a little bit, what if they did? Would that be enough to actually sway me to go to the dealership and drop coin on a different car? I'm not so sure that it would. See, here's my logic behind this. If you look at where GM went with the LS7, you can kind of start to already see where I'm going with this. If you know any history behind that, the guys with the LS7s, basically it would be the C6, Z06, or the Z28. There's really a limited market for that engine, and so if you're going to be building one of those or just driving the thing around, you're going to find out pretty quickly that guys with mildly modified LS3s in this case, or LS2s, will pretty much eat your lunch. And with some of the problems that they had with that LS7 just from the start, with them having a nasty habit of dropping valves and the like, I don't think that it would be a great idea to go that route. But if Mopar just decided to throw a stroker kit into the existing platform, would it be worth the money? And I'm not so sure that it would be. My logic behind this kind of rolls like this. The car as it sits with a 392 is already traction limited. Come on. The car is basically rolling around with the prerequisite neon sign glowing, saying that you've got to have drag radials, at least for the street. Now, I know some of you guys are getting some really good 60 foots out of the summer tires on the track. Congrats, you're doing a heck of a lot better than me. I gave up pretty quickly on the stock all season. But anyway, getting back to the point, what if Mopar did drop that 426 into the Challenger? The only thing I can base my thoughts on are what I've seen in the history of what I saw with the Z28 to tell me that if Mopar decided to drop that 426 into the car, the development cost alone to make that engine warrantable, at least kind of long term, is going to mean that that thing is going to be expensive. And when you look at what the Camaro did with that Z28, when they dropped the LS7 into it, that sticker price went from around 35 to 40 grand for an SS, or 50 or 53 grand for a ZL1. It went to 70 something thousand dollars, if I remember correctly, for the Z28. As far as I'm concerned, that's freaking highway robbery, especially for a platform that already existed. So, yeah, I have a feeling that if they ever did decide to do something like that, it would be expensive. Now, yeah, I know, there's already the aluminum 426 in the drag pack cars that you can buy. But just like the Copo Camaro or the Cobra Jet, that platform is not street legal, at least not without a lot of tap dancing. And so in that respect, yeah, I guess they kind of already have a platform available, but really, I don't see that ever being put into production. And that's the other side of it. If they did decide to go with a 426 in the Challenger, If it's in the iron block, you still have the weight penalty. And if they did decide to go with the aluminum block, now you're talking a ton of money, and you're really only saving about 100 or 125, maybe even as much as 150 pounds, but you're saving that amount of weight on a car that already weighs 4,200 pounds. Now, yeah, I get it, every pound counts, but come on, you'd have to save a lot more weight for it to really be that big of a difference. So, aside from that, is there anything that I would get rid of this car for? I can't really find anything. And the only thing that I can think of that would make me even, I don't know, raise an eyebrow is hypothetical. There's no rumor about a 426 ever being released in this car. So there's no reason to even think about it, except if you're talking about doing a stroker kit. So, let's say I did a stroker kit as opposed to getting rid of the car. There is not enough power in that stroker kit to make it worthwhile as far as I'm concerned, at least not dollar for dollar, especially when you consider the fact that a supercharger kit would probably cost about half of what it would cost to do the stroker kit if you're going to do it all the way. In other words, you're looking at about 10 grand for a supercharger kit installed if you don't do it yourself versus, I don't know, probably somewhere around 18 grand for a stroker kit if you're not doing it all yourself. So close enough to call, at least for the double in that statement. But I mean, seriously, that supercharger is going to run away from a stroker 426. And yeah, I know, save the whole race setup. My car is a street car, it's not a race car. If I was building a race car, it certainly wouldn't be out of a Challenger, at least not this one. So, if you think about it, if you've got one of these cars, you're kind of sitting in a weird spot. You've got a platform that's already very capable, and most guys, if they're taking their cars to the track and have any real seat time whatsoever in really good conditions on a tire, you're going to be close to the 11s already as it sits. 426, it's just going to translate into a little bit more tire smoke, might make it a bit more of a pain in the ass to get off the line. It's going to make drag radials even that much more necessary. And then where are you? You're probably $10,000, $12,000, $14,000 above what one of these things costs new if they did decide to develop that. And now you're looking at Hellcat territory. Or they do a dumbass move like GM did and price the 426 car higher than their supercharged, supposedly highest output package. Kind of running in circles here, but at any rate, just a little bench talking. Had a, kind of a fun conversation with some friends. It got me to thinking a little bit, and maybe you guys have been thinking about that too. It's wintertime, you might be in the middle of a project, or you can't really run your car right now. Got to thinking about, well, what else is really around the corner? As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing really coming from the other manufacturers. Chevrolet with the ZL1 looks like a fun package, but I'm not into supercharged applications. And for you Hellcat guys, how would you guys feel if Mopar decided to release a 750 horsepower warranted new horsepower rating for your now new Hellcat? Kind of makes that 707 not look so special anymore. So right now I'm going to stick with the 392. Even though it is getting a bit diluted, I do think that that's a good thing for us moving forward, especially if you guys decide, yeah, I do want to put a stroker in my car. The more of these things that are on the road, the cheaper it's going to be for the aftermarket to create parts for them. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm just going to sit back, let these things rack up. Who knows, one day I might find one in a junkyard, build a little 426 for it, pop it in this thing if I ever blow it up, have a little bit more fun with it. But for now, there's nothing that's going to be coming out, at least not in the foreseeable future, that is going to pique my interest enough to get rid of my Challenger. So, tell me what you guys think. Anything out there that you guys are seeing? What's piquing your interest? Let me know. Adios.